The air grew colder as I descended the narrow, winding staircase hidden beneath the shattered carousel. Each step echoed faintly, swallowed quickly by the oppressive silence that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The carnival above, with its grotesque laughter and twisted lights, felt like a distant nightmare compared to the cavernous chamber. I now entered a place that pulsed with a sinister glow, the heart of the cursed carnival. The walls here were unlike anything I had seen before, translucent, shimmering faintly as if coated in a thin veil of mist, yet solid. Embedded within them were cages, ethereal prisons of light that flickered with a quiet, agonizing energy. Souls. I understood instantly. These were the remnants of those trapped by the carnival's curse, bound in eternal limbo. A cold shiver ran down my spine as I stepped further inside, the weight of countless trapped lives pressing down on me, whispering faintly in voices that echoed sorrow and despair. I could almost see their faces, twisted in silent screams, reflections of the terror I had been running from my whole life. Yet, this place was more than a prison. It was the source, the very core that sustained the carnival's malevolent power. A sudden movement caught my eye. From the shadows emerged the ringmaster, his tall, gaunt figure framed by the flickering soul cages. The cracked porcelain mask he wore gleamed faintly in the dim light, the sinister smile beneath it promising torment and cruelty. His voice, when he spoke, was smooth and haunting, a contrast to the harsh reality of his presence. "So, Evelyn," he began, his tone laced with a mocking warmth, "you've found the heart of my domain, the soul-binding chamber where eternity is forged." I swallowed hard but held my ground. "Who are you? How did you become this thing?" He laughed, a dry, hollow sound that echoed off the cavern's walls. "Once I was a man like any other, a showman with dreams and ambition. But ambition is a dangerous thing. I made a pact for eternal life, to preserve this carnival and my legacy. I did not foresee the cost. My soul is bound here, trapped as the keeper of these lost ones." His story unfolded like a dark fable, an eternal bargain twisted into a curse. Each soul he claimed added to his power but chained him further, a tragic figure condemned by his own making. Before I could respond, a soft flicker of light shifted near the edge of the chamber. Mara appeared, her pale, translucent form moving with a grace that contrasted starkly against the oppressive darkness. Her eyes flickered like candlelight, both fragile and fierce. "The curse is anchored to these bindings," she whispered, her voice a breath amidst the clamorous silence. "But it is not unbreakable. You must understand the magic that holds these souls to shatter the chains." I looked from Mara to the cages, feeling the cold pulse of the enchantment thrumming through the air. Tentatively, I reached out and touched one of the shimmering prisons. A jolt shot through me, icy and raw, as if the carnival's curse sought to claim me then and there. But instead of fear, a fierce determination flared within. This was my legacy, yes, the terror that had haunted my bloodline. But it would not claim me, not without a fight. "Tell me," I said, voice steady despite the storm inside me, "how do I break this?" Mara's eyes softened, and the ringmaster's smile faltered for the first time. The carnival's heart pulsed around us, its malevolent rhythm growing louder, warning of the battle to come. But armed with the truth, I felt a spark of hope amidst the shadows. The cycle would not continue without resistance. I would face the darkness at its core, and I would fight to end the nightmare once and for all. As I prepared to delve deeper into the secrets of the carnival's soul-binding curse, the chamber seemed to close in. The weight of eternity pressing down, but also the promise that the legacy of fear might finally be broken. The carnival's heart beat on, but so did mine, fierce and unyielding. I stepped back from the pulsating cage, the cold energy still humming faintly beneath my fingertips. Mara's presence beside me was a steadying force, her flickering eyes glowing with an intensity that belied her fragile form. "The curse feeds on fear and acceptance," she said softly. "The ringmaster thrives because those bound here surrender to despair. Your defiance is the first crack in the armor." The ringmaster's gaze bore into me, the cracked mask hiding a torment that seemed almost human if twisted beyond recognition. "You cannot undo what has been forged through centuries," he hissed, stepping closer. "Every soul I have claimed strengthens this place. Every attempt to break it only tightens the chains." "Then I'll break them anyway," I said, voice shaking but resolute. "For my grandmother, for myself, for everyone trapped here." A bitter laugh escaped him, but I saw something else too, a flicker of regret, a shadow of the man he once was. The Carnival's heart pulsed faster, the cages flickering wildly, as if sensing the brewing storm. Before the ringmaster could respond, Mara reached out, her translucent hand brushing my arm. "There is a way," she whispered urgently. "A ritual hidden in the Carnival's past, a sacrifice that can sever the soul bonds, but it requires strength more than you know you possess." My mind raced. Every fiber of my being screamed to run, to escape the nightmare that had already cost too much. But this was my fight. The legacy I never asked for was mine to confront. "Tell me," I demanded. "Tell me everything." And as the Carnival's heart beat on around us, I braced myself to face the darkness within and the battle for the souls bound to this cursed place. The chamber's eerie glow cast long shadows as Mara recounted the ritual's details, her voice waving through the heavy air like a fragile thread of hope. It required the willing surrender of a part of one's own soul, an act of defiance that could unravel the ancient magic. "It will hurt," Mara warned. "It will change you. But it is the only way." I looked at the cages again, at the faces trapped in eternal torment. Their silent pleas echoed in my heart, fueling my resolve. "Then I'll do it," I said, the weight of my decision settling like steel in my chest. "I will break this curse, no matter the cost." The ringmaster's mask cracked slightly as a shadow of anger and fear passed through his eyes. "Foolish girl," he spat. "You know not what you challenge." But I did know. The Carnival's heart was vulnerable, and I was ready to strike. The battle for the souls and for my own survival was just beginning. As I turned away from the chamber, Mara's flickering form beside me, a new fire burned within. The Carnival's dark core had been revealed, its secrets laid bare. I carried its weight now not just as a burden but as a weapon. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, the ringmaster watched, his malevolent smile fading into a grimace of desperation. The heart of the Carnival beat on, but so did my will to end it. This was the moment where fear met defiance, where legacy met choice. And I was ready to fight for a future free from the Carnival's cursed joy. The nightmare was far from over. But for the first time I saw a sliver of dawn piercing the endless mist. The air within the Carnival's heart pulsed with a living darkness, thick and suffocating, as if the very shadows conspired to choke the breath from my lungs. I stood frozen for a moment, the weight of what lay before me pressing down with unbearable gravity. Around me, the Carnival's grotesque architecture twisted and shifted like a breathing, malevolent beast, ropes of fog snaking through the broken rides and shattered tents. I could feel it, the pulse of dread, the cursed joy that had ensnared generations before me, now reaching out to claim my soul. Beside me, Mara flickered like a fragile flame in a storm, her pale form barely more than a whisper in the darkness. Her eyes, those eerie pools of flickering candlelight, held a strange mix of sorrow and urgency as she leaned closer, her voice barely more than a breath. "This is the crossroads, Evelyn. The point where you choose surrender to the Carnival's embrace, or fight for your freedom." Her words struck a chord deep within me, echoing the turmoil that had churned relentlessly since I first stepped foot into this cursed ground. I glanced at Tommy, whose rugged frame stood firm despite the tension that furrowed his brow. His skeptical gaze was laced with fierce loyalty, a tether to the reality I so desperately clung to amidst the swirling madness. "Weary with you," Tommy said, his voice rough but steady, a lifeline in the suffocating darkness. I swallowed hard, feeling the flicker of hope Mara's presence kindled, fragile but real. Yet the Carnival was relentless. A sudden ripple of movement caught my eye, the distorted reflections in a nearby hall of mirrors. I stepped closer, and the glass betrayed me, showing twisted versions of myself, a shattered woman overwhelmed by fear, a broken soul resigned to her fate, and a shadow that seemed to mock my very existence. From the depths of the carnival, the ringmaster's laughter echoed, a chilling melody that slithered through the air like poison. The cracked porcelain mask he wore seemed to leer from the shadows, his sinister smile promising despair. This was not just a battle for my body or soul. It was a war within, a struggle to reclaim my identity from the claws of inherited terror. Tommy's voice cut through the oppressive silence as he confronted a shadowy carnival worker who stepped forth as a barrier. "We were not afraid," he growled, his defiance sharp as a blade. The figure recoiled, shadows twisting and recoiling in an unseen force. His brash courage sparked a fire within me, reminding me that I was not alone in this nightmare. Mara's gaze locked onto mine once more, her whisper urgent and fragile. "Freedom comes at a price, Evelyn. But the cost of surrender is far worse." Her words seared into my heart, crystallizing the choice that lay before me. I squared my shoulders, feeling the raw edge of determination harden my resolve. The carnival might be a labyrinth of horrors, but I was no longer a helpless victim. With Mara's guidance and Tommy's unwavering support, I was ready to face the darkness head-on. A shiver ran down my spine as the carnival's malevolent energy surged, the shadows deepening and the twisted laughter growing louder. The crossroads had been reached, and there was no turning back. "Let's end this," I whispered, voice steady despite the storm raging inside. Tommy nodded and Mara's flickering form flared briefly, a beacon of fragile hope in the encroaching night. Together we stepped forward into the unknown, each step a defiant strike against the legacy of terror that sought to consume us. The carnival's grip tightened, the world around us warping and twisting, as if the very fabric of reality was rebelling. But beneath the crushing weight of fear, a fierce flame of hope burned small, stubborn, and unyielding. The battle for my soul, for our freedom, had begun. And I would not let the nightmare win. The fog thickened as I stepped further into the carnival's heart, the once familiar scents of popcorn and cotton candy warped into something acrid, a stench of decay and despair that clung to my skin. Shadows danced unnaturally against the twisted tents, their fabric rippling though no wind stirred. My breath came in short, sharp bursts, each exhale mingling with the eerie mist that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Then, from the depths of those shifting shadows, he appeared, the ringmaster, tall, gaunt, impossibly still. His cracked porcelain mask caught what little light there was, glinting sinisterly beneath a tall, worn top hat. That smile, painted on yet somehow alive, stretched wider than any human grin, promising both delight and doom. He spoke without moving his lips. His voice slithered into my mind like smoke. "Welcome back, Evelyn. We've been waiting for you." I swallowed the lump in my throat, every instinct screaming to flee, but the weight of my bloodline anchored me in place. This was the moment it dreaded and yet prepared for, the culmination of every whispered warning, and every fragment of fear passed down from grandmother to mother to me. Around us, the carnival itself seemed to awaken. The ground beneath my feet rippled like water, the tents warped into impossible shapes, colors bleeding into one another in a nauseating kaleidoscope. The air was thick with the sounds of laughter that twisted into screams, blending memories and illusions into a living, breathing nightmare. My senses rebelled against the chaos, threatening to shatter my mind. "You cannot win," the ringmaster hissed, his voice echoing through the warped reality. "This carnival is eternal, bound by blood and fear." I clenched my fists, feeling Mara's presence flicker beside me, a pale, fragile beacon in the madness. Her candlelight eyes met mine, steady and filled with empathy. "Remember who you are," she whispered. "Your strength is more than fear." Drawing on every shred of resolve, I forced my mind to clear, focusing on the memories of grandmother's warnings, of the love and pain that tied me to this cursed place. The illusions around me faltered, the colors dulling, the laughter cracking into silence. The ringmaster's smile wavered, his mask beginning to fracture. No, he snarled, his form flickering as the carnival's grip weakened. Suddenly, Tommy's voice broke through the chaos, steady and sure, calling my name from the edge of the surreal battlefield. His rugged face, etched with worry and determination, reminded me that I was not alone.
"You've got this, Evelyn! Fight it!"
With renewed strength, I shattered the last of the illusions, the porcelain mask splintering to reveal not a monster, but a tormented soul, bound by a dark pact in eternal regret. The carnival trembled, the twisted landscape beginning to collapse inward. Breathless, battered, and scarred, I stood amidst the ruins of the nightmare. The battle was won, but the war was far from over. Yet for the first time, a fragile hope flickered within me, a chance to break the cycle, to end the legacy of terror. But as the carnival's shadows retreated, a whisper lingered in the mist. The nightmare was not finished with me. Not yet. I tightened my grip on the remnants of my courage and stepped forward, ready for whatever came next. The carnival's distorted laughter bounced off the warped mirrors surrounding me, each reflection twisting and elongating my features into grotesque caricatures of fear, doubt, and despair. The funhouse maze seemed alive, its walls breathing in rhythm with the sinister echoes of a laughter that wasn't mine. My heart pounded, every step deeper into the labyrinth, a battle against the shadows that sought to consume me. But beneath the suffocating dread, a spark of defiance burned brighter than ever before. I would not be a prisoner of these illusions any longer. I steadied my breath, eyes scanning the endless reflections, for the real me, the Evelyn Grey who had survived every nightmare the carnival had thrown her way. Each distorted face was a challenge, a taunt, a lie. I clenched my fists and spoke aloud, shattering the silence. "You don't own me." The mirrors trembled, cracks spider-webbing outward as the carnival's laughter warped into a guttural growl. The maze shifted, walls stretching and contracting like the belly of some monstrous beast. Then, through the haze, the faintest flicker of movement caught my eye, Mara's pale form flickering like a candle in the wind. She appeared beside me, her translucent eyes flickering with a strange light. "They feed on your fear," she whispered, voice barely more than a breath. "But they can't break what you refuse to give them." Her words grounded me, reminding me that I was not alone in this battle. Mara, the liminal spirit caught between worlds, had offered me hope before, cryptic as it was. Now, with her there, I felt the weight of the carnival's curse shift slightly, as if I had pierced a veil of darkness. Emerging from the maze, the carnival's heart lay before me, a grotesque stage wrapped in shadows and mist, where the ringmaster waited. His tall, gaunt figure stood rigid against the swirling fog, the cracked porcelain mask hiding a sinister smile beneath a tall top hat. His eyes, dark and hollow, pierced through me with a malevolent hunger. "So, you think you can break free?" His voice was a chilling whisper that carried the weight of centuries. "You belong here, Evelyn. Your blood binds you to this place." I met his gaze, feeling the venom of his words but refusing to let them anchor me. "I am not your prisoner," I said firmly. "This curse ends with me." The mask cracked, a jagged line splitting the porcelain like a spider web of shattered hopes. Pieces fell away, drifting like dark petals into the swirling mist that clung to the carnival's twisted illusions. For a moment, I glimpsed the tragic figure beneath, a man consumed by the pact he made, bound eternally to the darkness he unleashed. But the carnival fought back fiercely. Shadows writhed like living tendrils, reaching out to ensnare me in smoke and light. Mara's flickering form moved with me, her eyes kindling with cryptic encouragement. "Remember who you are," she urged. "The cursed joy is a mask. Tear it away." Suddenly, a shout cut through the chaos. Tommy's rugged figure burst through the shadows, his wary gaze locked on me.
"Evelyn, watch out!"
His presence was a lifeline, a reminder of the world beyond the carnival's nightmare. With his help, I found strength to push back against the illusions, breaking them down one by one. The grotesque reflections shattered, the twisted memories dissolved, and the carnival's false delight crumbled into dust. Each illusion I dismantled weakened the ringmaster's grip, but also stoked his desperation. The air thickened with menace as he hissed curses that clawed at my resolve. Yet, with every step forward, I felt my own power grow, the resourcefulness and emotional strength born from a legacy of fear and the unyielding desire to end it. The carnival's pulse faltered, the malevolent energy ebbing as the shadows recoiled. I stood at the center of the fading nightmare, breath ragged but spirit unbroken. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, I glimpsed a path beyond the cursed joy and inherited terror. "This isn't the end," the ringmaster warned, voice cracking like old wood. "The carnival never truly dies." I met his gaze unflinching. "Neither do I." As the carnival's illusions shattered around me, I knew the fight to break the cycle had only just begun. But tonight I had taken back control. And in that moment, amidst the ruins of a century-old nightmare, hope kindled like a fragile flame, refusing to be snuffed out. The carnival's twisted laughter faded into silence, replaced by the steady beating of my own heart, a sound more terrifying and more powerful than any curse. The air was thick with the scent of smoke, and something far more insidious, the bitter tang of loss and defiance. Evelyn's breath came ragged, her body trembling as she leaned heavily against the jagged remains of a splintered ride. The carnival around her was a nightmare made flesh. Flickering lanterns cast grotesque shadows, the echoes of sinister laughter curling through the night like poison. Her hands bore fresh cuts, the pain sharp but secondary to the ache within her chest, a heavy, suffocating weight that threatened to crush her spirit. Tommy was by her side, his usually brash demeanor replaced by a protective urgency. His wary eyes scanned their surroundings, every distorted face of the carnival workers seeming to twist closer with a hunger that was palpable. The grotesque figures, once mere hallucinations, now moved with a predatory certainty, closing in as if sensing her faltering strength. His hand gripped hers tightly, grounding her in a reality she desperately clung to. From the shadows emerged the ringmaster, a towering silhouette, crowned with his infamous top hat. The cracked porcelain mask he wore caught the carnival's flickering light, reflecting a sinister smile that chilled Evelyn to her core. Dark tendrils of smoke curled from his fingers, writhing like living creatures as he exhaled a breath that seemed to warp the very air between them. "You think you can break free?" His voice was a cold whisper, both mocking and threatening. "This carnival is eternal. Your defiance feeds its fire, but it will consume you all the same." Evelyn straightened, despite the pain that lanced through her side. "I won't be your puppet. Not anymore." The carnival responded with a violent surge. The broken ground beneath their feet trembled as the twisted rides groaned and shifted, the tents billowing like malevolent shadows. Evelyn's vision blurred as a force slammed into her, knocking her to the ground. Her body ached with every breath, but her resolve burned brighter than ever. Tommy shouted, pulling her to her feet. "We have to keep moving!" Together, they darted through the maze of decaying attractions, the carnival's fury manifesting in warped illusions and spectral hands that clawed at their backs. Evelyn's heart pounded, each step a battle against the physical and psychological torment that threatened to unravel her. Despite the chaos, moments of clarity pierced through. She saw the faces of past victims etched in the peeling paint, their silent screams fueling her determination. Mara's cryptic warnings echoed in her mind, urging her not to surrender. Every scar she bore was a testament to her fight, a painful but necessary price. As the night deepened, the carnival's hold tightened, its malevolent pulse echoing in Evelyn's veins. But within her, a stubborn flame refused to be extinguished. Even as shadows clawed at her heels, she knew this was not the end. The battle had only just begun. Her gaze met Tommy's, fierce and unyielding. "We fight together." The carnival might rage, but Evelyn's defiance was a beacon, fragile yet unbreakable. And as the first light of dawn threatened the horizon, the nightmare's grip loosened, just enough for hope to flicker. But deep within the carnival's heart, The ringmaster's smile faltered only briefly before hardening into a promise. The price of defiance was steep, and the legacy of terror was far from over. The carnival would return, and so would the nightmare. But Evelyn Grey was no longer the frightened girl in the shadows. She was a force to be reckoned with, scarred, resolute, and ready to face the darkness head-on.